Okay, welcome everybody. You all know me, Ryan Smith. I'm in a counseling program at Campbellsville University. This is for one of my classes that I had to do. It's a master's action research project. I've been working on this for about 24 weeks now, so I'm ready to present my findings. I chose to examine behavior issues for 8th grade students. So just a little bit about our district and school. Obviously, you all work here, but we're located in Fairdale. We serve students grades 6 through 8 in JCPS. We have about 933 students, and we are 54% male, 45% female, 40% white, 25% African American, 27% Latino, and 7.5% other. Obviously, we're a very diverse school, and we have our challenges with that, but we are overcoming those. Students with disabilities, so ECE students, comprise about 12% of our enrollment. We're also a Title I school, and 76% of our students are eligible for free and or reduced lunch. We all know that they all get it anyways, just because we are that Title I school. So the rationale behind this research project, I worked with our 8th grade counselor, our 8th grade assistant principal, and other teachers, just regarding concerns over students that we have here. One of the big concerns was behavior students or student behaviors. Being an EDC teacher, we see all the time, they struggle the most, it seems like, with their behavior. So I wanted to find out what we could implement to possibly help that. We discovered that they're missing a lot of valuable instruction, which is widening those achievement gaps with their similar age peers. So the research question was used as the basis for this study. What is the effect of a daily check-in and check-out system on 8th grade students and their behavior? That was the underlying thing that I used in all the research that was done. So just some background. Obviously, we have many students with IEPs. They struggle with behavior issues, especially when they get to 8th grade. I don't know why it's 8th grade, but they struggle the most, it seems like. They're often in trouble, and a result of missing valuable instruction, which again is widening those achievement gaps. Students with disabilities miss out on excessive amounts of school, and they see a negative impact on grades, achievement in mathematics and reading, as well as little to no relationship with their peers or teachers. Positive relationships with adults in the building have shown to reduce student disruptions across all school settings. That's why I looked at the check-in and check-out with it, to maybe improve those relationships between students and teachers. So just some causes and types of behaviors. So disagreement with school rules, the uniform, the walking quietly in a hallway 2 by 2 is like pulling teeth, it seems like. General delinquent behavior, personal issues, lack of interest in learning, low income family prioritization of education. A lot of times when we call home, we can see, oh, your student's acting this way because the parents just don't seem to care. Personality disorders, developmental challenges, and sensory needs. Developmental challenges was a big one for me. Again, we were working with 8th grade students, so we see that they're going through it, right? So just some background research. There was a study done by Weber in 2019 that reminds us that PBIS, or Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports, is a system that's been implemented across thousands of schools and across the country. We have a system here. So those positive interactions should build strong relationships and rapport among students and staff that will lead to better behaviors being exhibited by students. According to that same study, a check-in and check-out intervention is one of the most commonly implemented interventions. One, because it's easy to do. There was another study done by Alperin that found that check-in and check-out or psycho interventions are a promising method for middle school students because it's easy to implement. There is some parent involvement if you do it that way. Easy to track progress, and hopefully you'll see more academic engagement. So the intervention. Each morning I met with the students that were in the study. I used 5 ECE students on my caseload for this study. Each morning they would come to me, do a quick check-in. Hey, how's it going? What's going on? Anything we need to know about? Things like that. During that check-in, they were given a behavior tally sheet for them to take to each of their classes. And they would get that filled out by their teachers. And then at the end of the day, they would return that completed tally sheet to me. And then we would check out at that point. What went wrong? What went well? What can we do to make tomorrow a better day? So the role of the researcher, which was me, was to conduct pre and post surveys and one-on-one interviews, as well as collect daily behavior tally sheets. The role of the student was to have their teachers fill out a behavior tally sheet for each class each day. They're also responsible for checking in with the researcher at the beginning and checking out at the end of the day. So this is just a quick timeline. This was a 6-week actual study. The last week was my data analysis week. It took way longer than a week, I will say that. So I had some qualitative and quantitative methods. Qualitative, I did a pre-survey with each of those. It was a Likert survey. Each student had one at the beginning, right before the intervention, and then at the end. And then quantitative, they did those behavior tally sheets. And then another qualitative, I'm sorry, I forgot that one, is the interviews with students that I did halfway through, just to gauge their thoughts and feelings about their behaviors and attitudes and things like that. And then that post-survey we used to compare results that they had compared to the pre. So data sources, again, the student interviews, that's the qualitative, and then quantitative was the pre and post behavior Likert survey, the behavior tally sheets, and then to really gauge how well it worked, I took a number of office referrals before the intervention and then a number after the intervention. Confidentiality and anonymity were maintained for all participants by following FERPA guidelines and other precautions. Everything was kept in my room under lock and seal, or taken home with me. Other students didn't have access to it, things like that. So the participants, again, I used 5 ECE students for this. It was a 6-week mixed method study. I just used 8th grade students, like I said, on my caseload, and they were just chosen on class enrollment. A lot of them had the same classes together. The group of participants was racially diverse and representative of our school. There were 2 African-American students, 2 white students, and 1 Hispanic student. 3 participants were male and 2 were female. And again, they all have IEPs or receive some type of special education services throughout the day. So the data analysis. Again, behavior tally sheets were taken. These are the results from those behavior tally sheets. This is a little difficult to read, but this is a week-by-week breakdown for each student on their total points. So you can see some of these students had a lot lower point totals. And we'll get into that towards the end when I get to the conclusion. This was the number of office referrals pre and post intervention. Blue is the pre-intervention. Yes, still here. Blue is the pre-intervention. As we can see, student 1 had 1 referral pre-intervention and student 5 had 2 referrals. Post-intervention, however, student 1 had 2, student 4 gained a referral, and student 5 got 2 more referrals in that time. So the data did not look good, but I'll get into that as well. And then these are the pre and post survey questions. The scores there are for each question. So the first one is the pre, and I just averaged those scores out. It was on a scale of 1 to 5. Let's see here. Total of 4 question scores decreased from pre to post, and 6 question scores increased from pre to post. So we're seeing a little bit of a inconclusive data here, just because the students, when you look at this, the student general thoughts thought their behaviors and things were better, but as we can see from this, they were not. So that's what led me to this inconclusive intervention. Some issues with this study: administrators, school counselors, and teachers this study could easily be duplicated. with a similar methodology. Additionally, used various techniques to gather quantitative and qualitative data. Barriers would include variables outside the researcher's control. So things like teachers getting sick, students getting sick and missing extended amounts of school. And one of the big things was the emotional challenges that a lot of ECE students suffer with. They have a lot of troubles regulating their emotions, as most of you know, I'm sure. So they're gonna, probably see some improvements, but at the same time, they're gonna struggle with whatever they're in. Limitations, I would say the amount of participating students. Most studies like these use more students. I wanted originally to use 10 students, and I just didn't get the consent forms back that I needed, so I was stuck with 5. And a lot of them would also use a control and experimental group to provide validity to this study. Again, just didn't get the amount of participants that I wanted back that would be willing to do it. And then many qualitative and quantitative instruments were used in this technique, which added to the complexity. Like I said, that data analysis took about a week to do it, a week or more to do it itself. And then gathering all those reports, so the year-to-date behavior reports, student surveys, comparing their answers that they gave and things like that. And then lastly, another limitation that I noted would be the timing of the intervention. So as we know, students' behavior at the beginning part of the year is generally good. And then as the year progresses, that's when they start showing their behinds a little bit more, so they can test those waters and see what they can and can't get away with, right? So if I had to do this again, I would do it maybe in the middle of the year, so they're kind of comfortable. They know what the expectations are and things like that. And like I said, it would just been more beneficial to the researcher and the study itself if it was done towards the middle of the year. So in conclusion, questions raised through this study: would the results be similar if the intervention was used on general education students? Students with IEPs sometimes have behavior-related disabilities that inhibit them from exhibiting good behavior at times, even though that's just their normal life, right? And then could this be implemented across a school-wide setting? And it'd be pretty easy to do, but tracking it all would be, I think, a nightmare. So, and then suggestions that I added would be dragging this out longer, for months instead of just a few weeks. And then, like I said, putting it into the middle of the school year rather than at the beginning. That dragging that out, or extending that time, would also allow the researcher to dive farther into those results and analyze their answers and things like that to really understand what it is they're looking at. It would also allow the students to adjust to the intervention and grasp the overall goal. At this time, is there any questions or comments or concerns? I know it's a lot of information.
I was wondering, would you do it, compare it like from here to the end of the semester with regular kids and see how that?
You could, absolutely. And I think
we have 5 other
right.
students with
Yeah.
IEPs and compare the data to
right.
see.
And that's a really good point. That's something that I would like to do. But for the sake of this class and everything, it had to be done, at this time.
Just for your own knowledge to see how.
Right. That, I think, just doing it, like I said, in the middle of the year would be the biggest thing. We see them when they come in at the beginning of a school year, they're usually on their best behavior, and it just, kind of falls off as the year goes on.
Yeah, I think it's that, and they're on their best behavior, but we kind of overlook a whole lot too, the first month or so.
Right. Like a grace period type thing. Yeah. Yep. That's true.
I always tell they ask me that first day, what do you think? It's like, I'll let you know in 6 weeks. Once that warranty's worn off.
Yeah.
Goes into a routine.
Anybody else? Nope.
So,
Thank you.
Action research is always fun.
Oh, I can stop recording too.